Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life when the weight of the world presses so heavily upon us that even the strongest shoulders begin to bend. Loss, grief, and disappointment come to every one of us, uninvited and unrelenting. And no matter who we are, no matter what we've achieved, we are not immune to the quiet loneliness that settles in the soul. For years, I chased the answers in the places the world told me they were hidden, in success, in recognition, in the noise of constant motion. But the truth is, none of those things could quiet the storm inside. They offered applause, but never peace. They filled the room, but never the heart. Peace did not arrive with thunder or the blinding light of revelation. It came quietly, like a whisper in the night. Faith is not a chain. It is not a prison. It is a hand reaching out in the dark when you have nothing left to hold on to. It does not erase pain, but it gives pain a place to rest. It does not silence grief, but it teaches you how to listen to it without being consumed. I found that peace in the still moments when the noise of the world faded and the silence had room to speak. In prayer, in reflection, in this simple act of breathing through the storm, I discovered a strength not of my own making, a strength that forgives, that embraces, that lets go of anger, because anger is too heavy to carry through a lifetime. This journey is not about perfection. It is about surrender, not in weakness, but in courage, to admit we cannot do it alone, to trust in something greater than ourselves, and in that trust to find a steadiness that the world cannot take away. I stand before you not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who has walked through shadows and found light waiting on the other side. Faith has not removed the shadows. It has given me the courage to walk through them, and in that I have found peace. Life has a way of testing the spirit in ways we never expect. There are seasons when the ground beneath us feels steady, when the world is filled with promise and light, and then, in an instant, it shifts. The people we love most can be taken from us without warning. Dreams that once seemed so close can slip quietly through our hands. The strength we thought was unshakable reveals cracks we never knew existed. Struggle and loss are not visitors who knock politely at the door. They enter without asking, without mercy, and they make themselves at home in our hearts. In those moments, when grief is raw and unrelenting, the silence can feel unbearable. Every memory cuts like a blade, and every day stretches out longer than the last. You learn quickly that no achievement, no applause, no worldly success has the power to shield you from the human experience of pain. It levels us all the same. The stage, the spotlight, the accolades, none of it can ease the ache when you're left alone with nothing but questions that have no answers. But there is something profoundly human in those struggles, as unbearable as they may seem. To hurt is to have loved deeply. To feel loss is to know the richness of connection. And yet, when you are standing in the middle of it, that knowledge does little to ease the heaviness pressing down on your chest. It is in those moments that doubt whispers loudest. You wonder if you will ever feel whole again. You wonder if the night will ever give way to morning. Still, even in the darkest hours, there is a strange kind of resilience that begins to stir. Loss as a way of stripping away the unnecessary, of teaching you to see life with clearer eyes. Struggle forces you to discover the strength you never wanted to find, but somehow always carried within you. And while the scars never fade, they do not have to be marks of weakness. They become reminders of survival, of battles fought in silence, of wounds that taught you how to endure. To live a life marked by struggle and loss is not to live defeated. It is to carry proof that the heart can be broken and still keep beating, that even in sorrow there is a chance for grace, and that through pain we may begin to understand the true depth of what it means to be alive. There comes a point in every life when the things we once thought would satisfy us prove to be hollow. The pursuit of success can be relentless, the climb toward recognition endless. We spend years chasing approval, measuring ourselves by the applause of others, by the size of our achievements, by the titles we collect along the way. And yet, when the curtain falls and the lights dim, what remains? The silence after the noise can be deafening. Fame, for all its glitter, does not fill the emptiness that waits in the quiet hours of the night. Success can offer comfort, yes. It can bring opportunity, security, even pride. But it cannot mend a broken heart. It cannot stand at your side in the darkest moments of grief. It cannot answer the questions that echo when you are alone and searching for something more than the world can offer. No trophy, no award, no wealth of admiration has the power to calm the storms that rage within the soul. In truth, the search for meaning begins when we dare to step beyond the illusions of accomplishment. It is found not in being celebrated, but in being connected to others, to the world, to something greater than ourselves. It is found in moments of honesty, in vulnerability, in the courage to admit that we are not complete on our own. The world teaches us to climb higher, to grasp tighter, but meaning is discovered in the opposite, in surrender, in stillness, in realizing that we are part of a story far larger than the one we write for ourselves. The applause fades, the headlines vanish, the roles we play shift and change. What endures is the quiet work of the heart, the love we have given, the compassion we have shown, the faith we have chosen to hold when everything else slips away. That is where true meaning lives. And once you have tasted it, no measure of fame or worldly success can compare. Faith is often spoken of as though it is a command, a strict set of rules to be followed without question, a master that demands obedience. But in truth, faith, at its deepest and most enduring form, is nothing like that. It is not a chain that binds or a weight that crushes. It is not something imposed from the outside, nor is it a voice that shouts above our own. Faith, when truly lived, arrives softly. It walks beside us rather than pushing us forward. It waits patiently rather than dragging us where we are not ready to go. In moments of struggle, it does not strike with force or demand instant transformation. Instead, it leans close, a quiet presence reminding us we are not alone. It does not erase pain, but it shares the burden. It does not dismiss doubt, but it gives space for questions and sits with us while the answers unfold. A faith that is genuine does not suffocate. It breathes with us, giving strength when ours is run dry, giving hope when the night feels endless. The gentleness of faith is what makes it so powerful. Harshness can break us, but kindness restores. Fear can silence us, but compassion teaches us to speak again. Faith does not thrive in control or intimidation. It thrives in love. It whispers that we are more than our failures, more than our grief, more than the weight we carry. It does not demand perfection. It simply calls us to take one step forward, no matter how small, and promises to remain at our side as we do. There is a quiet dignity in this kind of faith. It does not seek to dominate the will, but to guide it. It does not strip us of our humanity, but deepens it, and in that way it becomes less of a master and more of a companion, a friend on the long road, a light in the darkness, a voice that does not command, but gently reminds us that peace is still possible, even when everything else tells us otherwise. There is a kind of strength that is found not in action, but in stillness. In a world that constantly demands movement, achievement, and noise, we often forget the power of simply pausing, to sit in silence, to breathe, to listen. These are not acts of weakness or retreat. They're acts of courage, because it is in the quiet that the truth of our hearts is revealed. The stillness is not emptiness. It is a sacred space where healing begins, where clarity takes shape, where peace slowly enters. In moments of stillness, the weight we carry has room to settle. The chaos of the mind softens, and the spirit, so often buried beneath worry and distraction, rises gently to the surface. Reflection gives us the chance to see our lives not as a blur of endless days, but as a story with lessons, with meaning, with patterns that can only be recognized when we slow down long enough to notice them. Prayer, meditation, or simply sitting quietly in the presence of our own thoughts can open doors that striving alone cannot. When the world falls silent, we begin to hear whispers that were always there, reminders of love, of resilience, of grace, that accompanies us even when we are unaware. These moments teach us that stillness is not an escape from life, but a way of stepping more deeply into it. It is in reflection that we rediscover gratitude for things easily overlooked, the kindness of a stranger, the comfort of a familiar voice, the strength that carried us through days we thought we would not survive. Stillness does not demand answers. It simply allows us to notice what has already been given. In those pauses, life becomes clearer. We see what truly matters and what does not. We recognize that peace is not found in constant motion, but in learning how to be present. And when we rise again from the stillness, we carry with us a calmness that no storm can easily shake, because we have touched the quiet center where strength and faith dwell together. There is a kind of strength that the world often overlooks. It is not the strength of clenched fists or unbending will. It is not the strength that shouts the loudest or conquers the most. True strength is found in forgiveness, in compassion, in the choice to release what could so easily consume us. Anger is heavy. Resentment burns, but it burns only the one who carries it. To forgive is not to excuse or to forget. It is to refuse to let bitterness define the rest of your journey. It is the quiet act of saying, I will not let this wound dictate who I am becoming. Forgiveness is not weakness. It requires more courage than vengeance ever will. To forgive is to stand face to face with pain and decide that it will not hold you captive. It is to let go of the desire to return hurt for hurt and instead to choose a path that allows healing not just for others but for yourself. There is a profound freedom in it, the release of chains you may not have even realized you were dragging behind you. Compassion flows from the same well, to see others not as enemies, not as obstacles, but as human beings who are struggling in their own ways. Compassion does not deny the wrongs that exist in the world, but it looks deeper, recognizing that we are all flawed, we are all wounded, and we are all in need of grace. When we show compassion, we do more than ease another's burden. We remind ourselves that we are part of something larger than our own struggles. Strength built on anger crumbles. Strength rooted in forgiveness endures. Compassion is not weakness but vision, the ability to see beyond the surface, to recognize that love, even when costly, is the only force that can transform pain into peace. To live with forgiveness and compassion is to live unbound, to carry a heart that, though scarred, remains open. That is where true power resides, in the quiet, steady choice to answer the world's cruelty with a greater measure of kindness. The journey of life does not come with a neat conclusion or a perfect resolution. It is not a path that promises an end to sorrow or a guarantee of unbroken joy. Rather, it unfolds one step at a time, carrying us through valleys and over peaks, always asking us to keep moving forward even when the road feels uncertain. There are moments when we stumble, moments when we falter, and yet each time something calls us to rise again. That call is not always loud. Often it is a whisper, reminding us that there is still purpose in the days ahead, even when yesterday feels too heavy to bear. Peace is not a final destination we reach and hold forever. It comes in glimpses, in moments, in the quiet assurance that though the pain may remain, it does not define the whole of who we are. Faith does not erase the shadows, but it places a light in our hands so that we may walk through them. And with each step, even the smallest one, the journey continues, not free of struggle, but filled with the possibility of renewal. We learn along the way that strength is not about never falling, but about refusing to remain on the ground. We discover that love, even after loss, still has the power to move us, to guide us, to sustain us. We come to see that every ending is also a beginning, that even in the darkest night, the promise of dawn remains unbroken. And so the path stretches on before us. It is uncertain, it is unfinished, and it is ours to walk. What lies ahead may bring more trials, but it may also bring more beauty than we can imagine. The journey is not about reaching perfection. It is about continuing despite imperfection. It is about continuing despite imperfection. It is about carrying forward with faith as a companion, with forgiveness as our strength, with compassion as our guide. And in doing so, we find that the journey, though marked by struggle, is also filled with grace. And so when all is said and done, what remains is not the applause, not the scars, not even the shadows we have walked through. What remains is the quiet strength that faith has given us, the peace found in stillness, the freedom born of forgiveness, and the courage to keep walking when the road feels endless. Life will always bring its struggles, and loss will visit us all. But if we choose compassion over anger, hope over despair, and faith over fear, then even in our brokenness we will find beauty. The journey does not end here, it continues, carrying us forward with a deeper understanding of who we are and what truly matters. And in that, there is peace.